So, good morning, my dear students. Today, we are going to talk on external fixator. You know, external fixator is a very important device being used in trauma, particularly in orthopedics. And we talk about DCO today. So, DCO is the damage control surgery where the external fixator is used many times to give the early care to the patient. And in today's practice, it is true that the external fixator being used as an early care in compound fracture so as to switch over to definitive treatment later on when the soft tissue heals up. But it is also true in certain cases it can be used as a definitive modalities of treatment also. Anyway, we are going to talk what are the basic principles adhered to it, what are the defined components, and also we are going to talk about the techniques. These are the things we are going to talk. First of all, what are the components being used? You know, external fixator, the basic components here is the clamp. There are two types of clamp. One is your rod and pin clamp. Another is your rod to rod clamp. Rod to rod clamp is the clamp where the holes are big and is being used to hold one rod with another. And rod to clamp rods, these pins, you know, this is going to assemble with the sense pin. So this clamp is known as universal clamp. Universal, why it is called AO universal clamp? We have another device that is called scapular clamp also. Scapular is rounded one. Rounded one, and it is a bit simple, but there you will find the size of the rod is smaller, almost 8 mm, which is around 11 mm in case of your AO type. So basically we do have two types. One is scapular type, one is your AO type. This AO type, and this clamp is known as universal clamp. Universal, why? Because you can change the axis and directions of the pin according to your need, according to your desire. So simply supposing if you are going to pass a pin over there, you will find you can change the direction of the pin according to the need. So this way, that way you can go. Yes, that is why it is called universal sort of thing. Number one, and the rod is called tubular rod. Why it is tubular? Because there is a hole inside. This is not a solid rod. The advantage being between the solid rod and the tubular rod is that tubular rod, if you try to bend, so bending resistance is more in case of tubular than there is a solid rod. Another point is that a solid and tubular, the weight in this case definitely will be less than that of a solid rod. So that is another advantage of a tubular rod. Then let us talk about the pin. This pin known as a half pin also, or the sense pin. So there are various modifications. You know, another pin you will find the central threaded part, Durham pins. Durham pins are mostly used for transfixation. Supposing if you are going to fix your tibia and you are going to 1x by this is supposing you are to transfix it uniplanar but 2 axis, yes or no? So in this case you are going to use Durham pins. So the threaded part will be locked here. On the other hand, sense pins used to have the threaded part in the tip. Again you find various modifications of this pin. Sometimes you will find this end is very tapered and sharp. These tapered and sharp pins are most useful, particularly it says a self-drilling screw also, sense pin. That is why sense pin sometimes said a self-drilling screw. Again, you will find particularly pins which are used in roller. See, it is a tapered size. This diameter is more than it is less. So if it is 5, it will be 6, it will be 5. the taper. This also to have a better holding. Mostly these are real fixator. On the other hand, sense pin again have different sizes. As you know, this fixator can be used almost all ligaments starting from the phalanges and the forearms, even tibia, fibula, everywhere. And everywhere you are going to use the sense pin of different sizes. Now, important thing, how to find out the actual need of the size. If you go the principle of the fixator, you will find from the stability point of view that if the pin is bigger, the better is stability. But it is also true that it has a limit. How much it can be? Suppose in case of tibia, it can extend up to 6 mm. Necessarily, if you pass a smaller pin over here, this is not going to give better stability. For the stability point of view, bigger is better, but there is a limit also. What is the limit? Limit is say, fixators are being used in the phalanges also. Necessarily, the pins in the phalanges will be smaller, and in case of forearm, it will be a bit bigger than this, and humerus again a bit bigger. So, what is the principle of selection of the pin? The principle of selection of the pin is that ideally, while you are passing a pin through the bone, we always try to pass through the maximum diameter of the bone. Suppose if you want to pass the pin like this, so if you are passing the pin like this, tangentially the pulses is always less. But if it is going to the maximum diameter of the area, the pulses is always better. So our effort and endeavor will be always there to pass the pin to the maximum diameter of the area. Now, what is the relationship with the diameter that of your pin we are going to select? As I said, that the bigger is better. How much big? That if you are passing through the pin here, maximum diameter, this area, here you can use the size of the screw, sand screw, at the most 1/3 of the transverse diameter of the area through which you are going to pass. Understood? At the most 1/3. Supposing if it is 9, supposing radius here you are going to pass through this area, the maximum diameter is your 9. So at the most it will be 3, 1/3. So if it is go beyond that, suppose if you are using 6 here, where the diameter is only 9, but you are going 6. So it is a potential problem inviting for pin track fracture. So this pin track name by reasoning, and this stress riser will be there. So this stress riser will cause fracture of this area. On the other hand, if you are using a very smaller pin, necessarily this stability is also questionable. So that is the important thing of selection. This principle is applicable for all the fractures, all the bone. So necessarily, arbitrarily you cannot say that you are going to use a pin of the femur 6 mm. It is true, okay, fine. But if your femur is a child of 11 years, 10 years, compound fracture, then that 6 mm diameter necessarily is not suitable for the child. Yes or no? So arbitrarily is a femur, so adult femur is okay, fine, 6 mm. But that principle cannot be applied to the child of 9 years, 10 years, where the bone is small. So necessarily you have to select, though it is a femur, you have to select a smaller one. So same thing is applicable for the other bone also. Do not go with the bone name, but you have to go with the size of the bone. So that is a mechanical important thing, and the principle behind here to selection of the pin is that we try to pass the pin through the maximum diameter of the area, true, and the size of the pin should be less than that of your 1/3 of the transverse diameter of the area through which you are going to pass. This is clear. Yes, sir? So that you understood, and that is why you have to select. Do not go with the bone name. So bone name is not important, but the principle is important to select. That is one. On the other hand, okay, fine. So that is one. And nowadays, in osteoporotic bone, some pins are hydroxyapatite coated pins are available nowadays. This is said that particularly in an elderly patient, the bones are osteoporotic. And in case of fixator, the controversy is that many times it ends up into pin track infection. So so many factors are there for the problem we are commonly face pin track infection, and subsequently this pin track infection leads to loosening of the fixator, and a loosening necessarily is not going to serve your purpose and it is going to discard it. True. So that is why our endeavor will be there that you are supposed to pass a pin which can be continued for a long time, not at least for 3 months, 4 months, sometimes even necessarily more, without loosening. So loosening is a problem, one. And number two, pin track infection. So these problems are more common in case of osteoporotic bone. To counter it, to avoid this problem, we are having the pins hydroxyapatite coated. That is going to give you better process, particularly in the osteoporotic bone. Understood point? Okay, fine. Now, from this table, supposing we are going to talk today, we are going to talk external fixations for flexor tibia. Supposing there is a flexor there which is compound type 2 or type 3, and you are planning to go for the external fixations in the tibia. So what are the principles here? We are going to talk. One thing, that debridement part is over, it is being done. And in tibia, we are supposed to know what is called safe corridor of the tibia. That is very important to understand. What is called safe corridor? Safe corridor means the corridor through which you are going, so you are going to do less damage. That is the principle, safe corridor. Yes or no? Yes. Now in this case of tibia, this intermediate surface is almost subcutaneous throughout the bone. Which part? Intermediate. So now that means from this plane, supposing it is a tibia, so you can have a 4 quadrangle. Yes or no? You divide it like this. So you can divide into 4 quadrangle like this. Yes or no? 4 quadrangle 90 degree, or 360 degree. Okay, fine. Now you will find this area, particularly intermediate, this is called your safe corridor of the tibia. Why it is called safe corridor? It is called safe corridor because if you are going to pass it, so the question of injury to the important structure is avoided. Yeah, understood? Yes or no? So the chances of injury to the important structure is lessened because it is a safe subcutaneous one. Yes or no? That is called safe corridor. So necessarily while passing the pins, you must not do any damage to important structures. You want to have stability, but not at the cost of some damage. Yes or no? So that is why you try to select the for the intermediate. Right? Now in these situations, so that means you have an opportunity to pass the pin like this, from this up to this level. But if you go like this, you can have, because it is a safe corridor, part of the safe corridor, 90 degree. But it is better to pass the pin in intermediate direction rather than middle direction. Why it is so? Because if you are passing the pin like this, in case of tibia, there is a possibility of angulations in this direction. Why? Because of the pull of the muscles of behind. The strong calf muscle is there. So if your pin fixation is like this, in the assemble like this, so there is a tendency of angulations. To counteract it, it is better to pass the pin through the anteromedial plane, mostly anteroposterior plane. Though you have a wide range of choice. See here, as I said, this is in the safe corridor. You can go from this, you can go like this, like this, like this, like this, up to this. This is a part of the safe corridor. But here if you have an Indian, what is the disadvantage? If the pins are long, they are difficult for the persons to walk because it may strike the other side. And stability point of view also, it is not good. So stability point of view, it is better to go for anteroposterior. ठीक है sir, this plane is plane. And minimum actually fixation for unilateral uniplanar fixation. This is called uniplanar unilateral fixator. Okay? So if you are additionally doing two, because you know this fixator is the least stable device. Least stable. In external fixator, it is uniplanar uniaxial fixator is the least stable fixator, least stable device. And if you go, then you can go triangular one. Yes or no? You can have a biplanar one, biplanar, then triangular, then you have a circular, that is ellipsoid. That is most stable. So from here, uniplanar uniaxial, you can go up to the your circular. So this is point of your stability. So out of this, the most stable is your ellipsoid, least stable is your uniplanar uniaxial fixator. So necessarily it is not a very strong device. You understood? But you can do some modification to strengthen this strength. You can improve this stability. How we are going to talk? These are the basic important things. The uniplanar uniaxial fixator, though it is this stable, but it also serves purpose, and you can also do some sort of modification to increase the stability of the device. Understood that point? Now, one of the point of stabilization, as I said, is this selection of the pin. Okay. Now, placement of the, also I have said about the plane of the beam. Which plane is much better to provide stability? This also additionally helps us to provide the better stability. Now, how we are going to pass the pin? So now that for a flexure in the central part, here middle part. So what is the minimum requirement here? Minimum requirement at least 2 pins this side and 2 pins this side. Minimum. Okay? But from stability point of view, it is said, if you increase the number of the pin, you can increase the stability. But how much? It is said if it is going beyond 8, it is not going to serve your purpose. So, understood point? So, increase the number of the pins also increases stability. 1 point. Increase the size of the pin also increases the stability. Number 2 point. Number 3 point is that spacing of these pins are also important. See, as I said, for the minimum requirement, we can go for this fixator like this device. Okay, I am supposing minimum, as I said, the 2 pins are needed. So if the 2 pins are being fixed, supposing this is the flexure here, and I am fixing these pins here and here, 2 pins, and another configuration is this in this device. Which is good, which is bad? Which is good? See, it is the flexure here. This part is the flexure here. As I said, for minimum requirement of the fixation, we need at least 2 pins in one unit, one flexure fragment. Understood? Minimum. You can increase according to the need, and as I said, you can increase to with more stability, but if it is going beyond it is not going to serve your purpose. That is the principle. But as I also told you, the spacing of the pins are also equally important. Now, this is the question for you. Now you tell me which device which is desirable. As I said, for the fragment here, I am giving the pins like this. On the other hand, this fragment here, I am putting the pin like this. Which is good? Which is good? This one is good or this one is good? Which is good? Necessarily this one is good. Why? If you are putting the pin too much close to each other, yes, the stability given by these 2 pins is much less than the pins which are placed wide apart. Understood? So that is also important thing for the stability point. For the namesake, if you are applying 2 pins very nearby, so it is not going to give more better stability. So if you are spacing it, it is going to give more stability. So that means one pin is near to the flexure side, another pair is towards the joint side. Now there is also principle here. There how to select this area. One thing that while you going to the near to the joint for fixation, you supposed to be away from the joint by not less than 2 cm. Why? It is important that you do not want to pass the pin through the capsule of the joint. If you are passing through the capsule of the joint, unnecessarily you are inviting trouble to the joint, and it may end up into your joint infection. That is not desirable. Understood? So, that is one point. On the other hand, if the fixation is being placed near to the flexor site also, it is going to do fixation good. Near to the fixation also, say if here, that is at least away from, at least 2 cm away from the flexor site. Okay? Nearer, but at least keep a give of around 2 cm. Understood? So here 2 cm, 2 cm. And gap should be more. So it is said it is better than more than 8 cm if the gap. So it is good. 8 cm gap between two pins are better. So these points which I am telling you is not only give a stability but also provide better stability. What are the points as I mentioned? That about the size of the pin, about the numbers of the pin, about the plane of the fixation of the pin, and also spacing of the pin. Understood point? Next point is that there is a rod which are going to place here. Suppose this is being fixed over there, and you are going to fix the rod over there. So this rod, if you are fixing it too much away from the flexor, from the bone, necessarily the cantilever mechanism is not going to provide better stability. If the rod is nearer to the bone, then it is going to give better stability. Understood that point? So if this suppose a pin is being fixed here, I am keeping the rod far away. So this device is this device is not very good one. Supposing if you are fixing it here, and the rod is too much away from the plexus, from the bone. So see this is being fixed here, and one thing I can do, you can keep it here also, or I can keep it nearer to the bone also. Two things I can do. Yes or no? Which is good? Which is bad? Good is nearer, but how much nearer? That it should able to give enough space for the swelling to accommodate. See, at least people say at least 2 finger way. So you are supposed to able to pass 2 fingers easily. So that space to be maintained. This helps in doing dressing of the wound, as well also the space for the edema to be accommodated. So that is why some sort of gap is important, but too much away from the bone is not good. Okay, sir? So again, to improve the stability, if you increase the number of the rod, it's also going to provide better stability. So supposing this is a single rod. So if you are going to apply another rod over there, so it is going to give better stability. So there are certain things there, these all points which I am raising, mentioning here, that you select the adequate size of the pin, you select the adequate axis of the pin, yes, axis of the pin, and also the placement of the pins, and also spacing of the pins. All these are important, and also placing of the rod nearer to the bone is always important. So these points to be remembered for the fixation. Now when you are going for the fixation also, now when technically you are going to do, what are the things you are going to do? What initially you are going to do? You are initially going to put an incision over there. So after putting incision over there, you are going to winding up, yes, this 2 rod combination. There another you can apply 2 rods. 2 rod combination is far better. And now how we are going to put the drill here? So as I said, pre-drilling, and also preload. Preload is that if the drill size is less and your pin size is more, this is called preloading. Yes, sir? So if the preloading is more there, it is good for fixation, but you have a limit 0.3 0.1 to 0.3 mm it should be difference between the drill bit and the pins. So that way you can give a preloading. Preloading going to give better stability. It is called preloading. So now I am going to put the fixation over here. So what I am going to do? So if the size of the pin is being selected, say around 4.5, so you can select the screw 4.5. Then you select the 4 mm drill bit. So difference between these two, the 0.1 to 0.3 or 0.4 difference should be there. So that difference is important for preloading and better fixation. Yes. So that difference 0.1 to 0.3 mm should be gap between the two. So depending upon the bone quality also you have to select. Accordingly you are selecting the drill. So while you are going to do put the incision over there, put the incision, do drilling, okay, do drilling here. So drilling, as I said, the size of the drill bit, as I mentioned already, you have to select. While selecting the drill bit also, it is important that you always use a very sharp drill. 1 point. Number 2 point is while drilling that you always pour normal saline or cold, so that there is no thermal necrosis. Thermal necrosis is a very important thing who finally contributes for loosening of the pin. So that is 1 point. Yes, after doing, then again you have to wash the track. And finally, while you are putting the screw over there, the screw, you always use a T-handle here. So do not use a power drill now. So do not use a power drill now. Now you have to select this here T-handle like this. And then you, with your hand, you push it. So if you are doing so, the thermal necrosis is always avoided. So these are very important things. So if your drill bit is not very sharp one, very blunt one, so necessarily it will generate more temperature over there, and this is going to do thermal necrosis of the area, and this is going to contribute for the pin loosening, and ultimately the fixator may fail. Yes, so step by step, put the incision, go up the peristem, widening it up, do the drilling, then select this adequate size of the screw and put it with the handle, your T-handle, not by the power drill. And your sharpness is very important about the drill bit. Sharpness is very important, that you can have a very good track, so that you can avoid loosening. So thermal necrosis and loosening is an important thing. So that is how we can do the fixation there. So these points are very important. And now after fixation, after doing the reduction and fixation, maintenance of the fixator is also important. Cleanliness at the pin and the skin junction is very important. If it is, if the pin is there, only there are some of secretions supposed to come, and the scrap which is forming around this is the culprit, which is going to prevent the collections to accumulate over here, and that is going to contribute for your fixation, loosening of the fixator. So that is why always try to clean it up. It can be done with the betadine solution, so one can wash it, also clean it accordingly, and clean it dry and wash it every day, so that you can prevent these scrap formations and prevent loosening. Because once it is scrap formation, collection is not coming out, it is accumulated there, and that will cause the pin infections and finally loosening. Now, continuation of fixators depends on certain factors. Now, what are the basic things that any fixators now fixator is being blamed as a non-union machine. This is not true always. This is not true, though it is being blamed. And as you know, this if the fixation is very much rigid, it is said to be very rigid, but it's not always true, because it depends upon the configurations of this your fixation device, and also configurations to give the stability. Nowadays we do not talk about the rigidity, so the fixation should to be rigid enough, but it should to be stable. But it's stable to provide the micromotion to the flexor side rather than macromotion. The stability is such that there is a macromotion of the macromotion, so this is not going to assist the healing, rather it will go for your non-union. But if there is micromotion there, and that too is an axial micromotion, that is going to give a stimulus. So that is why you need to devise it accordingly, but do not want to give rigid fixation over there, because rigidity always leads to many times non-union. That is why this fixator was blamed once that it is a non-union machine. But it is not always true that only the mechanical part is not the only factor for union, but biology is also important equally. So there is two combinations, the biology and the mechanical factor to combine. Both the factors are equally important for union. It is only not the fixation, but even then nowadays we do not talk about the rigidity, and your device should not provide the rigid fixation of this area rather than a stable fixation, so that it can accelerate the healing. And if the fixation is providing this, what you are being desired for the union, there is no loosening, and the patient is comfortable with it, there is no harm continuing this fixator as a definitive modality of treatment. It is not mandatory that every time you have to remove it and re-implant it to some other nail or plate, nothing like that. If it is serving your purpose, infection is not there, there is no loosening of this, fixator is providing this stability, not rigidity, and there is good callus formation, or if there is sign, radiological signs of union is taking place, better to continue till there is final union, which again can be assisted with the dynamization technique that can be used with the burial concept, that which can accelerate the process of axial loading and accelerate the process of healing. Yes, that can be additionally being used here in this technique to improve or your accelerate the healing process. So that can be done. But even if you want to go for the replacement of this fixator, what is the principle behind it? The principle behind it is that usually the fixator, as I said, is being used as a DCO technique. DCO means only the initial part of that, and you have to switch over to the definitive treatment immediately once the patient is stable. That is for DCO. But on the other hand, if you are using this fixator for your soft tissue healing, there are two things said here. If the healing is very okay within 1 or 2, within 7 days to 10 days, supposing in 10 days it is healed up, then one can replace the fixator and go for the definitive one go. But if it is long, say many times the soft tissue healing takes time around 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks time. If it is taking a long time, better not to go for the fixation in the same sitting. You have to wait, remove the fixator, apply a slab for this timing, and let this pin track get healed up. Because otherwise this pin track will invite you trouble inside and go for infection. So that is the principle of switching over to the definitive modality of treatment as a fixation. Anyway, these are the basic principle of fixation. We have discussed about the pins, different pins, the selection of the size of the pin, then the placement of the pins, yes or no, the placement of the pins, also define configurations, how we are going to help you technically, and what principles you have to adhere for fixation, continuations, and the also whether to go for definitive treatment or a temporary treatment. If you have any question, you can ask.